For the past 3 years, I've found that one of the most useful ways of planning and structuring Rowan's academics to make sure that he is keeping on track to the national curriculum is through the use of themed weeks. So what I do each week is pick a particular topic, and everything that we do that week is based around that topic. Sometimes I let Rowan pick the topic, and sometimes I pick the topic for him. It's whatever works for him at the time. Also, we're very flexible with which topics we pick, and if he wants to change the theme week, then he absolutely can. What we then do is remember the movement method strategy of drop it, do it, confirm it. That's how we structure the themed week. So for the first 1 or 2 days, we drop information into the conversation about the topic that we're trying to learn. For the next 2 days, we do movement-based kinetic learning activities to get Rowan more involved in the topic, and then on the final day we find a way to confirm Rowan's knowledge on the topic through the use of treasure hunts or similar strategies. To find out more about Drop It, Do It, Confirm It, visit the Drop It, Do It, Confirm It section of this home study course. A recent example of a themed week that we did with Rowan was Agent X week. Now, the point of this week was actually to start to introduce the idea of learning equations to Rowan, and the idea that you can use the letter X to represent an unknown number or quantity. However, we knew that if we called it Learning Equations Week or Algebra Week, that might put him off. So instead, we called it Agent X Week, and we created a mystery cartoon character called Agent X, who's pictured in this poster here, that we were going to try and figure out who it was. So for the first 2 days of this week, I simply dropped into the conversation while we were doing other fun activities that Rowan enjoyed, that there was this mystery cartoon character called Agent X, and our goal that week was to try and figure out who he was. Rowan loves cartoon characters, so we knew that this was a strategy that would work for him. When we got to the third and fourth day of the week, we moved on to the Do It activities, which involved, during Agent X week, me creating a number of different treasure hunts, which were based around trying to figure out who Agent X was. So what we did is, I created cartoon characters like the ones pictured here and assigned them different numbers. So this character here is number 2, and this character here is number 3. In the treasure hunts, I hid those characters in the wood, and between the characters there were plus signs and equal signs. So what happened is we walked along one of Rowan's favourite trails and we found the number 2 character. We then walked a little bit further and we found the plus sign, and then we walked a little further and found the number 3 character before walking further and finding the equal sign. At this point I started to get excited and say to Rowan, oh, this must be a clue, this must be here to help us figure out who Agent X is. And then sure enough, we came across a picture of Agent X like this one with a question mark instead of a face. And the picture can actually be lifted up so you can see something that's underneath. And I said to Rowan, okay, this has to be a clue. We have the number 2, we have a plus sign, and we have the number 3, and then we have an equal sign. I wonder if we just have to add 2 and 3 together to find out who Agent X is. And so we added 2 and 3 together and made 5. And then we lifted up the flap and discovered that Agent X was indeed the number 5 character. We then repeated this over a number of different treasure hunts over the 2-day period. And that's really important because repetition helps Rowan to learn. And each time I helped him a little bit less with trying to figure out who Agent X was. On the final day, we did a Confirm It treasure hunt where we had probably 4 or 5 different examples like this, and I hung back even more and gave Rowan the opportunity to show me that he had indeed figured out that in order to discover what X represented, you simply had to either add or subtract the other numbers that you discovered together. To translate this to paper, we then created this poster together. So you can see we did it on a very large scale because that's easier for Rowan, and we actually created our learning equation with the pictures. So we have Agent X here equals the number 2 character plus the number 3 character, and then above we have it written out. And this is how we translate an exercise like this to paper. And then gradually we repeat it and we repeat it until we eventually get to the stage that I can give Rowan a learning equation on paper and he will feel confident in solving it. But we start like this and we get to that stage much later on.